welcome to the KPPA Audit Committee. It's November 18th, 2025, and I'll call the meeting to order. Could we have the opening video statement, Mr. Board?
Yes, sir. This is a regular meeting of the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority Audit Committee. This meeting is being broadcast via video teleconference pursuant to Kentucky Revised Statute Section 61.826 and may be viewed by the public at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority offices at 1260 Louisville Road in Frankfort, Kentucky. If you are speaking and are not appearing by video, please identify yourself before talking. Please ensure that you are on camera when making or seconding a motion or casting a vote. In the event the video or audio broadcast is interrupted, we will attempt to reestablish a connection. If a connection cannot be reestablished within 30 minutes, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled to another date.
Thank you. Ms. Rankin, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. O'Meara?
Here.
Mr. Cheatham?
Here.
Miss Eves?
Here.
Mr. Fulkerson?
Here.
Miss Hampton?
Here.
And Mr. Summers? Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Rankin, do we have any public comment for today?
No, sir. No public comment today.
All right. So item number 5, approval of KPPA Audit Committee minutes. We have the minutes for August 26, 2025. Motion to approve.
I so move.
Second.
All right. Thank you. Any discussion, corrections, omissions, any comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you. Next, we have the February 25th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve, please?
I so move.
Thank you. And a second.
And I'll second.
Thank you very much. Moved and second. Do we have any comments, omissions, corrections, anything with these minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you very much. Those are approved. Next, we have the external audit for fiscal year end June 30, 2025 for CERS and KRS. Mike, are you going to handle that for us?
Yes, Mr. O'Meara. Eide Bailey is our external auditors. I did not have them in this meeting, but they are still preparing their letters and their audit work. They are nearly complete. So far, they haven't found any issues that we are aware of that's going to result in anything significant. I do have their draft audit opinions. I got them yesterday, and I also got their draft governance letters that they will go through at each of the board meetings, the C and the K. But in front of you, starting on page 30, is the draft CERS ACFR in its entirety. We have made a couple changes since this draft was ran, but nothing significant. And then starting on page 132 is the KRS draft ACFR, again in its entirety. On the agenda, it also talks about, the GASB 67 and 74. There's a note, it's note I in each of those ACFRs. The board book page is 54 and 158 respectively. The GASB reports themselves will come out in February, so that's a separate audit item that Eide Bailey's working on for the GASB reports for our employers. And the audit opinions that are in the board books are blank. Like I said, I do have the draft of those. And then there was a couple other minor changes that we've made since these drafts were printed. Actually, the controller's office noted one of the tables in the investment section wasn't adding up correctly, so we've corrected that. And I think we had some wording changes in one of the transmittal letters that's been made since this draft got printed. And the PLSO note in the statistical section has been updated since this draft was done. But besides that, these are pretty complete. And that's all I have on the ACFRs at this point.
Can you?
Again, Ide Bailey is nearly complete. We had a meeting with them yesterday, and they haven't had any significant issues that I need to bring to your attention today.
And could you educate us on the acronym PLSO notes?
Yeah, so a new retiree can take several different options. You know, they can have a basic option, they can have a right with survivorship. And so starting in January of 2024, the legislature allowed retirees to take a partial lump sum option. So that means that they can get, you know, a lump sum payment initially when they retire, and that reduces their monthly benefit over their lifetime. And so that PLSO is the acronym for that. And since that started in 2024, it's the 2025 amounts are quite significant. So we wanted to add that to our statistical section, and that's down in the statistical section. It's the option choices, and there's a note in there about that PLSO.
Mike, is that all 3 tiers?
Yes, my understanding is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aaron could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe so.
You're correct.
So is it half of your value?
No, go ahead, Aaron, please.
It's based, there's two, it's either without survivor rights or they can have a survivorship option on it. And then they have the option to take a lump sum that is equal to 12, 24, 36, 48, or 60 months of either the basic option, if it's without survivor rights, or the survivorship 100% option if they select the with survivor rights payment option.
What's the lump sum percentage of their benefit?
It is the value of either the basic or the survivorship 100% option that is available to the member. And then it's that amount times either the increment that they choose, 12, 24, 36, 48, or 60 months.
Percent? Is that percent?
It's not a percent, it's a dollar amount. It's the actual basic payment option amount, which is the benefit that is available to the member. That's the highest amount that's available to them. If they select another payment option, that's actuarially reduced to account for a payment to a beneficiary or a longer payment to an estate or something.
And that's the lump sum portion? Is that
the lump sum portion? Yes. Takes that basic, and then you multiply it by whichever increment they elect. And so they have 5 choices, starting with 12, 24, 36, 48, or 60.
I got it. And that's the
monthly payment is reduced that they receive over their lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so the result of that multiplication is what the lump sum
that's
is.
correct. Yes.
Thank you. I got it now. Thank you.
And same thing for the survivor rights. They just use the survivorship 100% payment option and do the same multiplier.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a popular option for many retirees over the last 18 months for sure.
It'll be interesting to watch in 10, 20 years if it worked out for people. Hopefully it does.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, that payment option existed prior to 2009 as well, and the legislature removed it and brought it back in 2024.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Aaron.
Any other questions for Mr. Lamb? Mike, do we need some sort of action for the GASB 67 and 74, or will that go to each board?
Yeah, we don't need action here. Each board will review their ACFR and then approve it for publication to be decided upon by the KPPA board. But when we split the ACFRs, the governance of those financial statements lie with the individual boards.
All right. Then going to the management response to the 24 GFOA ACFR, would that be you too, Mr. Land?
It is, yes. So these were the GFOA comments on last year's ACFR. We have the letter for on the CERS ACFR as well as the KRS ACFR. The comments are identical, and there's 3 or 4 items in there basically that the GFOA pointed out to us, and let me get there for just a second. The first comment had to do with the formatting in the table of contents of the basic financial statements. Those things are supposed to be pretty distinguishable, and so they put a little comment in there about, making the font a little bit similar to the notes, etc. And so we've done that for the 2025 ACFR. And then the next comment had to do with identifying the pension system as a multi-employer system. Last year, as we split those ACFRs out and redid some of the notes, we failed to note that the CERS plan is a multi-employer plan, as well as the KRS plan. The SPRS plan is a single employer plan, and that was noted in there. So we've added that back to Note B in both of the ACFRs, and then in the RSI, we didn't really distinguish the difference between RSI and other supplemental information that's required in the ACFRs, and now we've modified the table of contents as well as those sections in the ACFR as well. And that's the extent of those comments. Those are our responses. We will send this letter back to the GFOA with our new ACFRs when they are approved in December, for the GFOA to evaluate those ACFRs for the GFOA award next year as well. So I would like a motion here to bring these to the KPPA board to review and approve before we send to the GFOA.
Any questions for Mr. Land?
Yes. Mike, I think I've told you before that I used to be on the other side of this, the grading side of this. And I will tell you that when you're doing that and you can't find anything else, this is what you look for. So, so good. Great job.
Thank you.
Well, is there a motion to approve the management response to the FY 2024 GFOA ACFR letter as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
I second.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that is passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to infrastructure and the application of security assessments. Is Ms. McKinley ready to present for us?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Hello.
Just to give you all a brief overview, we performed the third-party security assessment with Crow. That was the vendor that was selected. They're actually on the master agreement with the Commonwealth. We did the external and internal penetration assessment, as well as the 365, Microsoft 365 security assessment. There's a brief description there of each of these. I'm not going to read those to you all. And then we also packaged up STAR line of business code and had them evaluate that as well this time around. If you want to scroll on down to the findings, yeah. So we had a total of 19 findings, 0 high risk, 4 moderate, 14 low risk, and then 1 best practice. We got the final report about a month ago. Out of these findings, we've probably remediated about 25% of these. A couple were reoccurring that are kind of ongoing things that we've been working on that fall in the low risk category. So the risk is low. Overall, we were happy with the findings. You know, we went back and forth with the with Crow to work out a couple of discrepancies that we had. But other than that, overall, I feel pretty good about the reports. They're really digging to find stuff, which says a lot about our security posture at KPPA. Does anybody have any questions? Just due to the sensitivity, I can't really go into a lot of detail. But if you have further questions or you want more details, you can feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to get those to you.
Thank you,
I
Dominique.
think last year we had some in the high risk and then there's none now, so that's great.
Yep, we did.
Have there been any attempted hacks into our system that you're aware of?
No, not that I'm aware of. Chris Johnson is also on here. He's our information security officer. Chris, I don't know if you have any. We definitely have fraud attempts from the membership side.
Yeah, we have fraud attempts. With the security team always is monitoring that. They're actually we're trying to get hacked all the time. It's just that's the name of the game. There's automation out there, and that's why we keep up to date firewalls and everything secure as we can get it. As far as fully targeted, not really. The fraud is the ones that we've done a lot of focus on. The technology has put a shield around us. If you can look at it as a global, our firewall's protecting. We got several layers there, so we're pretty good. I feel good about this report. We've been doing it for 19 years. And Dominique is correct. They are struggling to try to find the things that you can always find things because technology changes. So it's a moving target, but I'm pretty proud of this report.
Chris, did you have to make any changes because of the move to Windows 11?
Not that I recall. There's usually some configuration changes at the OS operating system level of, why would we want them communications to go back out to like Xbox or gaming system that is just by default on there. So we try to take all that extra noise out.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you all. We appreciate the report and the results. I believe you do have a request for next year.
Yes. So I would like a motion for approval to do the infrastructure assessment for next year. We won't be doing the code assessment. We alternate that year to year. And we're estimating around 60,000 would be the expense for that. We'll go through the kind of same procurement process, put that request for service back out. We kind of start this in the first quarter of the year to have it completed by this board meeting, or by the committee meeting every year. So.
All right, is there a motion to approve the 2026 third-party infrastructure assessment?
So moved.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. First and seconded. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. That passes. Thank you, Dominique.
All right. Thank you all for your time this morning.
Next are our legal updates, the information and disclosure incidents. Mr. Goodrich, do you want to present that for us?
Absolutely. During the first quarter of 2026, we had 8 reported possible disclosures. 6 of those were found not to be a disclosure. One breach implicated KPPA's data disclosure notification policy. That involved a member receiving an envelope addressed to them, but it contained checks belonging to another member. The root cause of that was human error in mailing. The recipient returned the misdelivered mail. KPPA confirmed that the other member promptly received the checks that they were entitled to, and the recipient also received a reissued check before the next payday, so there was no loss to the member and no unlawful receipt of benefits. There was a HIPAA disclosure due to an external vendor that had a cybersecurity event that impacted 267 KPPA members, and that involved a limited portion of their network. The subcontractor implemented emergency response protocols, notified law enforcement, and sent notice as required by KPPA's policy to affected members and other required agencies. And so they are reviewing their protocols to reduce the likelihood of a similar cybersecurity event. This is for informational purposes only, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Did we not have a similar incident prior to the last meeting with regard to checks being mailed to the wrong individual?
I don't recall if it was checks, but we have had incidents with mail being sent to the wrong individual before.
The checks, maybe Mike Lamb needs to weigh into this. Are we looking at changing this to be direct deposit rather than mail?
Mike, I can.
Actually, Erin's got a committee out of the strategic plan that I think she can discuss related to check reduction.
Yeah. As we discussed at the impact forum, one of the teams that we have off of strategic planning is looking at paper check reduction. All the places where we issue paper checks, which include to members for certain things, and what we can do to reduce the number of paper checks that are going out the door. Just for everyone's, some background information, retirees are required to have their payments direct deposited unless they meet some other exceptions, limited exceptions. But in some cases in our processes, if we don't have the direct deposit information in time for our monthly payroll, it will result in a paper check being mailed at times. So that could have been the issue. I don't remember for sure with this one.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Nathan. We'll go on to anonymous tips. Ms. Hold, can you present for that, please?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephanie Hold, the investigator in the Office of Legal Services, and I'm here to provide information related to the fraud tips we've received since the last audit committee meeting that was held in August. We received 5 new tips, and we closed 4 of those after review. And there's 1 tip that's currently under review by the Office of Legal Services. We're in the middle of reviewing the information that we requested on that one right now. We have 4 open tips, with 2 of those involving employee reporting, 1 involving allegations of disability retirement fraud, and 1 involves a prearranged agreement. You can scroll down a little bit there for the closed tips. We've closed 5 tips since we last met. 2 of the closed tips were related to potential fraud in other agencies, and we provided the tipsters with the correct contact information to make a report. 2 tips involved employer reporting, with 1 tip closed because all the members were reported appropriately, and 1 tip was closed after providing the information for ERC to review. The last tip was related to a prearranged agreement to return to work with a participating agency, and we closed that after reviewing a documentation that we requested, and the documentation did not support the allegation. Short and sweet. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Two questions.
Okay.
One, with regard to the allegation or the tip that was received on 6/16, with regard to a prearranged agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like your current action was, the complaint was substantiated, but then you turned around and also found issues with payroll reporting. Is that correct?
Yeah, potentially the member issue was resolved and that's being dealt with administratively. And then there was just another, something that came up during the investigation, and I'm currently working with Nathan on that case.
Would you have discovered that problem any other way?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you. Second question is just take over the last 5-year period of time, because how many total tips have been reported? And I'm sure you don't have that answer in front of you. If you do that, you're better than I am. But I'd like to know how many tips we've received, how many of them break out as related to K employers, how many of them are related to C employers, and I don't need to know what happened with each one of them, but I'd like to know a general idea of what the issues were and what happened.
Okay. Yes, I'd have to go back through and look. I've been here since 2023, so I haven't been here that long. But we could go back and I'm sure we could get that information for you. And
Right.
some don't, and some obviously we receive tips that don't have anything to do with any of our members. That's, really common too. We get calls regarding Social Security, disability, and other agencies. And as we had 2 of those this reporting period. So it didn't involve, anybody related to this agency.
Okay.
But I can for sure work on that and get that back to you, Mr. Cheatham.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Hold. Appreciate the information. And now, Ms. Coffey, would you coordinate the next Audit Committee administrative updates, please?
Yes, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. The video dropped me, so I had to join by phone. Good morning, everyone. And the first item that I'm going to talk about is our internal audit budget, and that is on page 251 of Board Books. Through the first quarter, we are right on target. We have about 76% of the budget remaining. We haven't had any unexpected items come up for this quarter, and you will see the one note related to our payment for our software that typically would have been paid in May, but there was a delay. We talked about that at the last meeting. So it was paid in the first quarter of this year. Any questions on the budget?
Hearing none, go ahead.
Okay. So the next item is the update of our current projects. So through this first quarter, we've completed 4 audits, and you're actually going to hear more about those a little later in the meeting. The rest of them are either, you can see the status there in the phase column. They're either in fieldwork or planning. We have several that haven't started yet. They will be started later in the year. We scheduled that with the divisions. We did that earlier in the year when we did the risk assessment. We had everything scheduled out for when it was supposed to start, so they know when we're coming, but we will remind them. And then we have several projects at the end. They're ongoing. We do those throughout the year. We had one audit that went over its estimated budget by more than 10%, and there's a note at the bottom to explain that, but we have a couple of newer auditors, so this audit in particular was handled by one of those newer auditors. So there were just more questions than there may have been if it had been a more experienced auditor, and the reviewer worked closely with this auditor, so it just caused it to go over by a few hours. Any questions on the status update? All right. Well, then I think we will roll right into the first presentation of the 4 audits that I talked about that had been released. And the first one up is related to the gainer, and I'm going to hand it over to Madeline and let her go over this audit.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to start on page 255, just to so you guys can read the summary of findings and observations. So this audit was about recalculating the Tier 3 upside sharing interest in the gainer. And we didn't have any problems recalculating it. We worked with Office of Investments and BNY Mellon staff to recalculate it. The one finding we had, so we had one finding and one observation. The one finding, you can see more detail on page 256 right there. In the chart below, we show the difference between the current method that it's being calculated at and if it were calculated by system as it's defined in statute there in the criteria. So we recommended that KPPA Legal Services review these reference statutes and see if it's being calculated, if the current method is accurate with how those statutes should be interpreted. And any questions about this particular finding?
Yes, I wanted to ask, I understand in the notes it says that there certain members of management had different interpretations of the application, and that's why you had sought Office of Legal Services to give you a definitive interpretation. And I understand why the Office of Legal Services sort of punted on that. This is so complicated, and I sympathize with that. Here's my question. When you did the calculations, I suppose you applied them to individual members. Did you see any differences in the application of the calculations based on these different interpretations, or was it just verbally some managers, one manager said, oh, I think it's A, and another said, I think it's A+2 or something? Were there any differences in the way the applications were, the resulting numbers is what I'm getting at in practice?
So the calculation's not based on individual members, it's based on, so in the chart in the effect area, the current method is calculating it based on each plan. So there's K has C has an SPRS on the returns for those individual plans. And then that percentage is applied to all Tier 3 members that fall into that particular plan. And then we use the same formula, which is on page 257, so you just scroll to the next page there. This formula that's on top of the control matrix, we use that to recalculate it by system, or KERS, which is K and K has together, and then CERS, which is C and C has together, and then SPRS by itself. So you won't see any difference with that. So we applied the same formula just to those systems or those plans together to come up with what you see the gainer by system chart and the effect of the finding above. Does that answer your question?
And did you find some differences then among the systems?
So thank you, Sherry. In the differences between the system and current gainer chart and the effect, we found small variances there. These are in percentages though. So that's what we found as a difference, or the variance.
And the words are the same, the words in the statute are the same that apply to all the systems.
So we have the statutes and the criteria are saying system means state police retirement system. System means Kentucky employee retirement system and county employee retirement system. So there's one thought that's saying when it says county employee retirement system, it's referring to everyone that's administered by Kentucky Employee Retirement System. But the way it's currently calculated is it's taking Kentucky Employee Retirement System and making a difference between the hazardous members and the non-hazardous members, which there's thought that those are plans and not system, because the statutes that describe how Tier 3 interest credit should be calculated says it's based on the system's return and not the plan's return. So that's why we're asking Office of Legal Services to determine because I think this has been an ongoing debate about the difference between system and plan, because those terms are used throughout the statutes, but in different contexts.
Mm.
So this is just how
What do we do with this now?
that's
Aaron, I guess is that to you or to Mike? What do we do with this information now?
Well, the response, legal is going to look at it and research and review it, the applicable law, and we'll go from there. I will note that when Tier 3 was implemented, there was a non-hazardous and a hazardous statute for all of the systems and plans. It just resided in Chapter 61 for non-haz and Chapter 16 for hazardous. When House Bill 9, after House Bill 484 of the CERS separation, it was then extended to move the same language into the CERS chapters in Chapter 78. So when Tier 3 was implemented, there was just a hazardous and a non-hazardous statute.
Okay, so let's assume that we're using the center column, right?
correct.
Okay, assume that the system column is correct, for lack of better. What would you do?
I think that is a question that is still to be answered, because as you see
Yeah.
on that system column, the right-hand column, the gainers change.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of what the analysis is going to have to be, is what is the proper interpretation of the statute, and as well as the actual practical application of that. What does that mean in practice, and how's that going to impact the membership? All of that stuff has to be looked at, debated. It's not an easy answer, as Ms. Eve said. It is very complicated.
Would it be a retroactive adjustment? Is that a possibility?
I don't know that answer at this moment in time.
Okay.
I can't say.
Okay.
Michael, is this something your office has considered? What I'm getting at is this something you need to send to outside, very sophisticated cash balance lawyers?
I think so. I think this is an interpretation of a Kentucky statute. And I will say that, as it says in the comment, in our response, in 2014, when Tier 3 was, when the law was passed and the design was being built and implemented, the KPPA legal team at the time was part of that build process. They looked at this and approved the build process and the build documents at that time. Part of what I'm going to have to do, and part of the analysis that I'm going to look at, is to go back and look at those documents and look at that and see what all was discussed and considered at that time. I just have not had that opportunity yet. That's why our management response says we will do that stuff.
So you are willing to do that?
Yes.
You are.
Yes.
You think you're.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I got the impression that your office did not want to weigh in on this.
No. We're
I misunderstood.
Yeah, no, we're absolutely willing to do it. We just wanted to be clear that just because legal weighs in, there are a lot of other implications and considerations after legal weighs in. That, you know, we are legal, we will provide advice to our client and things, and then our client has to weigh that advice with a lot of other factors. And so we wanted to be clear about that.
Right. I think it just it gives confidence though to the systems if we have some legal advice and we are relying on legal advice and we follow the legal advice.
Absolutely. And we will absolutely do our job and do the research and our due diligence and weigh in and provide that advice. That's why we're here, and we will absolutely do that. And if our response and our input there gave any indication otherwise, I apologize for that. That
Yeah,
was
so-
not
So simply put, from my perspective, Michael wasn't in that role. I wasn't in that role. It's a very impactful thing. So just due to timing, legal was involved in it originally. We think there's a lot of credence to what Aaron said. It's in separate sections of the statute. However, we should always examine things and take another look. So we appreciate internal audit bringing it to us. You know, it is nuanced in a defined term, but it is nuanced that it's in separate sections of the statute. So we're just going to look at it, and given the short time frame here, Michael's group didn't get to start that process. And then as he articulates, there's a step past that legal that we look at the impact. And as you can see on the screen, we think internal audit highlighted, this is a major impact. So it has to be thought through after that legal analysis. But thank you for the question.
And I can understand why Michael would not want to, I mean, this is such a, as I say, it's so complicated and so close to home, as it were. I can see why you would think maybe it's not appropriate for you to, your people to do this.
we do not mind at all. It's
Okay.
It's what we're supposed to do, and we will do it.
I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms. Eves.
Oh, I think that's what we want. I think we want a legal view.
Michael, my question or concern, you mentioned, you stated that, you know, it's your job to provide legal advice to your client. At this point, who are you viewing as your client on this issue?
At this point, it would be KPPA. I mean, that's who I work for.
I just want to be clear on that. So my question, from the standpoint of the two boards, do we not need to be looking into this from our own legal direction, because it certainly impacts our individual beneficiaries? You want to give your thought on that?
I think this, I think this is an administrative, again, just off the top of my head, just thinking about this here on the spot. This is an administrative function, which I think is a KPPA function. So that's just an initial thought sitting here today, that that would be a KPPA role to administer this. So that's why it would be for KPPA to implement this.
The way and I may be looking at this wrong. If I am, Kristen or somebody, please tell me. But the way I'm currently looking at this, we've potentially got retirees or soon to be retirees that would be having their benefits calculated incorrectly, depending on which view of this is determined to be correct. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, Einstein's comment that the greatest invention was compound interest at this point. So, every time we calculate this and it's done incorrectly, it just compounds upon itself.
I'll just reiterate, if I can. sir.
Sure.
That Michael's comment beginning, legal was involved in this process and advised on the calculation when Tier 3 was being implemented. And we have been awarding the interest based on the interpretation. And we're still relying on that interpretation for now. And I think that the legal staff can certainly look at it again, just like Ryan said, we can look at it again, but we're still relying on that interpretation from when we implemented in 2013.
So I believe this would be an open issue, and we should have this audit come back after that legal analysis has occurred. The other option is for us to, a motion to accept the internal audit, but it has a dangling issue. I could see where we could have held this until we got that and then brought the audit forward. But at this point, it would be up to the committee on whether they want to make a motion to accept the report as issued, or if they want to leave it open.
Mr. Chair, if I can weigh in with maybe some additional information, is that okay?
Sure.
So any item that is not closed, so this item is not closed, moves over to an open audit recommendation report, which also comes to the audit committee. So should you accept this audit report and the information that's in it, that doesn't mean this goes away and you never see it again. We will certainly bring it back to you and give you an update on the status and the implementation of this item.
So Kristen, that interpretation is, if I said we can, this is not going to change because this is historical. And so anything that we find going forward either just confirms this is okay for whatever reasons, or there's a change. Is that
correct?
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
So the wish of the committee is?
I think we make a motion to approve it, which gives it a lot, to me, gives it a lot of strength while we're looking for an answer.
So I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
There is one more opportunity for improvement to discuss, or if you want to. It's on 261.
All right.
If you want to. Chair, if you could go to page 261. This was just the last remaining item for this audit about what the potential disagreement on what all is included in net of administrative fees and investment expenses. That's all I wanted to highlight. If you guys are, I don't know if this needs to be added to something, but that's all this is highlighting. Do you have questions about this opportunity for improvement?
All right, I have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I think that this is not really, well, it's an aside to the motion. But Michael, I think to Mr. Cheatham's point, if in your review you see there's some difference between the systems or the plans, I mean, it seems like to me the statute reads the same, will apply the same, but if there's some difference, Michael should identify that to the systems. I mean, it doesn't I agree with Michael, it's an administrative to thresh this out, but if it comes down to some evolution of the statute that is applicable to one system and not another, or some interpretation or some reason that the systems would be different, I think that was something Michael will identify.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Good comments. Any further comments or discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Kristen?
So the next audit that has been released is related to a review of the website. And I'm going to turn this over to Will Prince and let him go over the findings from this audit.
Yes, hello, good morning. I'm going to go over the review that was completed of the KPPA website this morning. I'm starting on page 263. And I want to start with a commendation. We worked with the Division of Communications, and it was a very smooth process. They were very helpful with everything that we needed, and I wanted to thank them for all of their help with this project and this review. We went through, what we did with this project was we went through the entirety of the KPPA website, verifying links functioned, everything was up to date. All of the statutorily required information that is supposed to be on the website was there, and all of that was verified. We had no findings or observations were noted as a result of this audit. We had 3 opportunities for an improvement, which are on page 268 and 269. And I can go over those in detail if you would like.
All right, any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'd like to hear a good, clean audit. Do we have a motion to accept the report on the 2026-2 review of the KPPA website as presented?
I so move.
Thank you. And
Second.
Second?
Second.
Second. We have a first and a second. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that is passed. I think we have 2 more. Ms. Coffey.
So the next audit was a review of trustee payments. So this looked at the per diem payments, travel reimbursement that's paid to our trustees. And James Westbay actually performed this audit, but he had a prior commitment that he could not step away from today. So I'm going to be presenting this. So as of what we looked at was any payments that were made to trustees. As trustees, I'm sure you know you work with Sherry on lots of things, and that is who we worked with for the most part on this audit. And I'm going to take this time right now to thank her because I know it was a lot of work and she was wonderful. So Sherry, thank you so much for all your help on this audit. So if you go to page 271, is that what I guess? Oh, just kidding, 274, sorry. We had a few findings and observations that came out of this audit. So this first one, there is a statute, and then it's also in the bylaws, but there is a statute that says if trustees do not complete their required training, then payment must be withheld. So we had one individual who, although training had not been completed in the previous year, payment was still made to that individual for a meeting. And then on the flip side of that, we had an individual who had completed training, but payment was withheld. Now, more information on that individual. At the time of the meeting and the time that the payment was issued, they didn't know that the training had been completed. They found that out after the fact, but there wasn't a provision to allow for a retroactive payment. So the training had been completed before the meeting, it just wasn't known to everyone. So that's what caused this. So we're just recommending that, when the CEOs or the executive director are reviewing the payments, that they look at the annual training requirements and they apply that consistently with either withholding or making payment. And then also with that, determining if we should be allowed to make retroactive payments. If you later find out that training was completed, can you go back and pay someone for the meeting that they attended? So that's that item. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, Sherry, I was under the impression that once somebody caught up, that they could get reimbursement. Are you saying that there's nothing in the rules that actually says that?
Correct.
That was
I can take this one if you.
Okay.
Ms. Hampton, yes, that's correct.
Uh-huh.
There is nothing in the statute or in the policy that addresses the retroactive payment
Okay.
to the trustees. So we have requested that that trustee education policy be brought to the boards at the next board meeting for some edits and to clarify some of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
If there are no other questions on that one, if you can scroll down just a little bit, I'll talk about the next one. So this is related to, well, the audit committee. The members of the audit committee, we found that not everyone on the audit committee is being paid the same rate for the meetings. Now, to be clear, we wanted to point this out. We're not saying that they are violating a statute because the statutes have a payment plan for KERS members and CERS members and then the KPPA board. So everyone on the audit committee who is a member of KPPA is being paid the same amount. This pertains to those additional members that were added that are not on KPPA.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought this, since we noticed that there was a discrepancy, we brought this to the attention of everyone that was involved and just asked that it be reviewed. And so in our recommendation, we have some options. Maybe no change is needed. Maybe everything is great and we put that out there and everybody's on the same page. Or maybe a change does need to be made. But we just wanted to bring it to the attention of everyone involved, just so in case they didn't know that there was a discrepancy between the members.
Okay. Well, I was told that that's a statutory difference, not a policy of KPPA. Is that right?
Yes, it's in the statute. So there's
Okay.
a statute for KPPA gets paid this amount, a statute for CERS is paid this, and then 2 statutes for KERS and SPRS.
Yeah.
And then there's
So anyway, it would have to be a statute change because when Lyle came on the board, he wanted JT to be able to be on the board, and so to keep it even, we brought Mary on the board. But I don't see that we could give them the KPPA. I don't think it's much difference, but still, I don't think we could do that without a statutory change.
Well, and that's why we were just putting it out there. Like I said, our first
Okay.
recommendation is no change may be needed. We just wanted everyone to be on the same page and just make it out there.
I appreciate that because I didn't think about that when we added those positions to the audit committee. So thanks.
Kristen,
Yes.
just for everybody, because I'm a little bit confused after that. I know C board members get paid $80 per meeting, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
KPPA board members get paid what per meeting?
KPPA is also $80.
K board members get paid what?
110 because that covers KERS and SPRS.
Okay. So the audit committee is a committee of the K board, correct?
A committee of KPPA, yes.
I'm sorry, KPPA. Why would that not dictate what everybody gets paid?
That's a good point.
That was one of our questions and was also, again, why we were pointing this out, that it's out there. These are the statutes. This is what they say. There's also an attorney general's opinion which is how the K board is paid 110. There's an attorney general's opinion that says if you're doing business for multiple systems, you can be paid the rate for both systems as long as the minutes reflect that. So one of our comments in this finding is the KPPA audit committee minutes do not reflect that business is being done on a system other than KPPA. Only KPPA is mentioned, not the 3 systems, not C, K, and state police. So with all of that information, the different rates, how the statutes read, that attorney general's opinion, that's why we wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, just to see if it needed to be reviewed.
just seems logical to me. If it's a KPPA committee, then that's what dictates payment.
We'll find out, but I disagree. I mean, you know, when you're not on the KPPA board, but you're on the audit committee, I don't see that I don't agree with your statement, but somebody else is going to find that out for us.
Well, I think what the change we made on the KPPA bylaws was to allow for people that weren't on the board to sit on KPPA committees, specifically the audit committee. So again, to me, it's a KPPA committee.
Lyle, we're going to have to agree to disagree and let somebody else answer it for us.
Yeah, that's nothing new.
I agree with that statement.
Do we have any other discussion on this audit? All right, is there a motion to accept the issued report on the 2026-3 review of the trustee payments as presented?
So moved.
So moved.
And a second? I had two people answer, so I'll take that. Sherry, did you get that?
Yeah, was that Mr. Fulkerson
Yeah.
and Ms. Hampton?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That passes. Now to the review of the hearing officer payments.
So I'll give a little update before I turn this over to our presenter here. The reason you've seen a trustee payments to trustees and then payments to hearing officers is in the past year, internal audit looked at all sorts of payments, like every payment. We looked at the admin payments, we looked at investment payments, but from those, we always excluded hearing officers and trustees because they're not paid under the same process. So we looked at these payments this year so that we can say we've now looked at all of the payments made by KPPA and give some reassurance on how those payments are being made. So that's why you've seen these two audits. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zach, who I think is new to we introduced him when he first joined, but I believe this is his first time presenting. So Zach, I'll let you take it from here.
Yep, thank you. Good morning, everybody. So we're on page 282 with the hearing officer's audit. We didn't have findings, any observations, or opportunities for improvement. Everything was pretty straightforward for the most part. Just on the commending, legal services was great to work with. Christy Wachowski, she was very helpful with all requests that we had. And then on page, I believe 284, let's see, I'm sorry, 285. Control matrix on Appendix A. Just to break down, we took a total sample of 55 invoices that includes both the actual billable hours from the hearing officers along with any travel that was conducted with that case. The sample made 53% of the size, 46% of that value of the total population. And then just a breakdown of everything below that. On page, I believe, 287, we have Appendix B. This is just a breakdown of KPPA's hearing officers that are employed full-time along with the contracted hearing officers that we have. Just a short description of categories on how they were broken down. And that, again, that includes all hearing officers that were either contracted or full-time. And with that, that's all that I have.
Thank you, Zach.
No problem.
And again, thank you for presenting, and we like to hear where there are very few comments and findings, so we appreciate that. Any further comments or questions for Zach? Hearing none. Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the issued report of the 2026-8 review of the hearing officer payments as presented?
So move.
Thank you. And do I have a
Second. Second.
and second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. And that passes. Kristen, do you have other items?
That is everything we have for today.
All right. Well, that comes to the end of our agenda, and I will now declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time and efforts.